Although African Americans make up 14% of the U.S. population, Nielsen reported they are responsible for a whopping $1.2 trillion in purchases annually. But buying power does not indicate wealth. This number does not correlate with the lack of investors, homeowners, and financially sound individuals. As a community, African Americans are behind the mark in terms of building generational wealth. Why is that? If managing money is never taught and access to financial advising isn't free, the only option available is to figure it out on your own. Figuring it out, coincidentally, has its costs. Keep listening for a discussion about financial literacy in the Black community. I asked finance experts and entrepreneurs to weigh in on the topic. I had the chance to interview Justin McCurdy over the phone. He is an executive at the Manhattan West asset management firm. He is originally from Jamaica, but eventually moved to LA at 11 years old. From there, he worked hard and started his own youth sports organization, which he still operates when he's not advising clients. We talked about how he first got into wealth management and the trends he has seen as a wealth management advisor.
Really, maybe from a confidence point, if you're not raised in an affluent community or you're not in a position exposed to to service those people, you might have some self ability to do that. So I'd say confidence. I'd say honestly the basic of knowing that profession is, to be honest, because I said if you don't grow up.
Okay, that makes sense. You kind of spoke to it, but what habits and or trends have you noticed about specifically the Black community as far as building and managing wealth?
Say that again? Sorry.
Sure. So I said, what habits and or trends have you noticed about the Black community as far as building and managing wealth?
And you probably haven't been exposed to those occupations. Just really even know the job itself probably a challenge for people. And then if you're in a position where you have to bring in your own clients, not having low hanging fruit for existing relationships, but challenging to bring in clients. So one is kind of a cultural confidence issue. One is an exposure issue to the role itself, and then actually it's really more of a sales client acquisition issue. A lot of different communities and demographics have started to earn more money, and so with a larger graphic of wealth, there's not become a larger understanding and heightened sophistication around the subject. So I think just more people from different backgrounds becoming wealthy in years has led to people just have an understanding of how money and how to acquire it and take care of it. The trend in the Black community is there's a lot more Americans or people of color that finding financial success, and that's helped entire demographic people because they're more and they're learning more. So I would trend is really a trend to exposure, financial literacy, and it's fueled by people of color coming into wealth in weird years. So.
I talked to Asia Taylor about money and its importance for children to learn about money while they are still developing. She is a single mom of twins, personal finance coach, and the founder of FN Phenomenal, which stands for Frugal and Phenomenal. It's a movement for single moms to become financially free. What were some moments that defined your relationship with money?
I remember my parents teaching me about money management from a very young age. In fact, when I was a kid, whenever I used to get like straight A's on my report card, I would get money for that. And when one of my relatives would send me money from for Christmas or for our birthdays, I remember that in those moments, my parents always used that as an opportunity to teach me and my sisters about saving. And so when we would get money, my parents would always be like, all right, now that you have this money, you got to save, you got to save, you got to save. Now let's go to the bank and put that money into your bank account, because they thought that it was very important that we each had our own bank account. So whenever we got that money, it was like a big to do, like, okay, guys, we're going to go to the bank. We're going to deposit that money in the bank. And they would just be excited for us and celebrate us for putting that money in the bank. So for me, they used that as an opportunity to teach my sisters and I financial literacy. And so I ended up going off track in terms of money management, not because I did not learn financial literacy. My parents taught us about savings. They taught us about debt, interest, and why it's important to pay debt on time and pay your bills on time. We learned all of that. And so I ended up going off track because as I got older, I wanted to buy more because I thought that buying more, especially clothes, meant that I could fit in a little bit better.
How can parents begin teaching their children about money?
One of the biggest one that kind of weaves throughout everything that I've just said is we have to let go of the notion that money is and budgeting is a grown folk conversation. And so I know, especially in the Black community, it's like, I'm not telling you how much I make. You might tell your friend. I'm not telling you this because then you'll know what's going on. And I think sometimes we do that with the best intentions, but it ends up being detrimental because our kids don't understand or have the opportunity to understand what's going on in the house. So all they know is that things are tight or things are good, and they don't understand the relationship between and the connection between it all. So I think having those honest conversations, not going into the nitty gritty details that really kind of are the adult conversation pieces of it, but start to bring them into the budgeting conversations. If things are tight, explain like, okay, you know, it's tight. Like, not, no, you can't do it, but things are tight. This is what's going on. So this is going to be what we're able to do going forward, and asking them how they feel about it and just bringing them into that fold so they understand what it's like to run a household on a budget, run a household with financial literacy in mind, but then also using that opportunity, like if there is some extra, maybe around tax refund time or bonus time at work, to be like, you know what, we have a little bit extra. So this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? Maybe give them a piece of it and say, how would you like to manage it? Start to teach them and empower them about making their own financial decisions. And I think that that'll go a long way in teaching kids the relationship between their decisions and their income and how they feel about those decisions. And also to teach them, about not just budgeting, not just cutting back, but starting to leverage that growth as well with savings and ultimately investing.
How does racial inequality affect finance matters?
Unfortunately, I believe racial inequality is a major factor when it comes to African Americans and our personal finance matters. Going back in history, many generations ago, starting out, we were not able to purchase land, to get life insurance, or to open bank accounts. So very later on, we were eventually able to do these things. However, our knowledge base and experience with money is quite different from our white counterparts here in the United States. Another factor is in the African American community, quite often we get paid less for the same jobs. And so we're starting out with lower income, and income is a major driver in how you build wealth. With lower income, you're not able to save as much or invest as much. So I think, number one, having the lack of experience and knowledge. Number two, going back through our generations and the inequality in race in America has been a major factor in how we're able to build wealth. And number three, our income and racial inequality when it comes to income is also another factor in our personal. Hi, my name is Kia Freeman. I'm answering question number 4. How can Black people create generational wealth? I think African Americans can begin to create generational wealth by educating ourselves on money and building a relationship with money. Part of our setback is in our community, we're often told that, money is the root of all evil. And we have this moral compass where we may look at money as being something that causes more problems, more money, more problems. However, I think that if we really understand the power of the generational wealth and passing it down versus spending it while you have it and having the mentality of, I won't be here when I die. It won't go with me in the casket. Well, you really want to be able to pass it down to your family members and create generational wealth. So I think a few steps are to, number 1, live below your means. Number 2, save consistently and start to build your funds. And number 3, with those funds, investing them and, pushing the needle so that you can have a diverse portfolio, whether it's through your traditional savings account or getting mutual funds and doing things in the stock market so that you can take the risk to try to grow your money and pass it down. Number 4, I think some key tools are life insurance. Oftentimes in our community, we don't discuss life insurance or talk about it, but we're all going to die at some point. And I think it's great if you're able to pass money down to your family members through life insurance. And then last, number 5, I think another great step is to definitely invest in property and land so that you can also pass that down in our families to our nieces, our nephews, if you don't have children, or to your children. So continuing that wealth and passing it down through things such as stocks and bonds, life insurance, and property. Money that I actually have. So those are steps that can help you for very low or free. You can, instead of buying that pocketbook or a pair of shoes, take that $200 or $300